Close Racing Supply in Eldred, Pennsylvania has been in business since 1996, serving the motorsports industry with quality parts for dirt late models, modifieds, and stock clip race cars. In stock are parts from top manufacturers like All-Star Performance, Weir's Machine, Sweet Manufacturing, Winner's Performance, Willwood Brakes, and many others. CRS is also home of CRS Race Components, providing top-quality suspension parts. Orders are shipped out daily using UPS, FedEx, and truck freight. Find out more at closeracingsupply.com.
Kicking up dust, spinning tires, it's a dirt track show. Lenses, focus, inches, rolling, feel that adrenaline. Capture moments, freeze frames, that's where the thrill begins.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Woah Show. Season 3, we survived the summer, somehow, some way. Covering every single racetrack, it seems like, in the area. We were at least there once, and we have a special guest today. A guy that I got to know very well over the summer. He is announced. You hear him at State Line. He's kind of the voice at State Line. He'll probably take over a little bit more next year. And you heard him a lot at Bradford Speedway, too, because I drug him kicking and screaming to my favorite place in the entire world. Josh, how's it going, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me on, and it's going good, man.
So, first season in the announcing booth for racing, right, this year?
Yeah, so I've been doing football, baseball, softball on the radio, and then back, years ago I did basketball, rugby, hockey, all sorts of things. But I've always loved going to the track and being part of what's happening at the track, helping on different cars and things like that. So when the opportunity presented itself to get the Pit Road Show back up and running, that's kind of what kicked this whole thing off, and got to meet Bill over at State Line. And once we got to know each other, opportunity presented itself to start basically, I say all but 7 or 8 nights up there at State Line this year. And then you presented me an opportunity to go up to Bradford, and I'm happy I took it. It was a lot of fun out there at Bradford as well. And definitely enjoyed myself, man. It's been a great year.
We keep it interesting at Bradford. For those who haven't been, you got to go. The on-track racing is phenomenal. 4-wide late model racing at a place where the back stretch and the front stretch can almost touch sometimes. So it's amazing. It was great action all year. You did a phenomenal job there at Bradford. I know how much you love those the stairs up and down from the press box. So first of all, we'll talk. Bill.
You're just gonna wait. Hold on. You're just gonna breeze over that. There are literally death stairs up to the press box, and I risk my life every Sunday night for you, Dan.
6 or 12 times for the feature winners alone. And then when we finally leave the press box, it's dark. It's super dark because Rick or Jesse or whoever, they're like, we're turning all the lights off right now. So yes. We're like, if I fall, I will never be found again because the bears are going to get me.
Factual.
So, we'll start here first. It was, Bill's was great. He gave a lot of people a lot of opportunities this year. You included doing the Pit Road Show. So how about we talk a little bit about how that first came about, and then going into the announcer role, and then we'll do a deep dive, because I feel like racing has its certain subset of announcers, right? There's not a lot of crossover that people come from the sports world to the racing world. There are a couple, and I'm going to shout out because I know he's probably watching. Spazman, he does like literally everything. I don't think there's something that dude has never. I think he would announce literally anything at least once, and dude's awesome. But yeah, how did the Pit Road Show come about, and in the announcing gig at State Line? How did that all fall together?
Yeah, so the radio station that I've been mostly working for, and I've done some other stuff with other groups, but it's channel 98.9 out of Corey, PA. And that just so happens to be a guy who works in the sales department part-time there by the name of Ron Smith. Ron Smith was the original host of the Pit Road Show back in the 90s at State Line. And so Ron and I sat and talked one day, and he said, you could bring it back real easy. All you have to do is just go get a half dozen sponsors and go talk to whoever's running the track. the next day, the PR releases all came out that Bill had reattained state line, and we were off and running. I sent him an email. He answered me immediately. We met up, we talked, and it was definitely a good match. I mean, the station, we do a lot of like high school sports right now. Not a lot of, any amateur sports or college sports or anything like that. So it was a chance for us to kind of broaden the horizons of what they were doing over at the station, and a chance for me to get back to the track and in some capacity that I thought was really fun. And, and re-immerse myself in a sport, which is something that I haven't had time for, honestly, the last couple of years with all the other sports I've been doing. So it was really, really kind of great for me too.
So from the Pit Road Show, and we'll start here. There's so much to unpack. I feel like this summer has been about 4 years long. So from the Pit Road Show, then you end up getting in the booth, and then you've been getting in the booth for like all season almost. Nate was there for a couple times. Hunter Jordan, he was the guy on the microphone for the past couple years. He moved on to different things, Hunt the Front, all of that. And he moved on down south, so you got to announce the Pit Road Show took on different forms. It started kind of like it originally was, interviewing drivers, running around. What was it like trying to break drivers out of the shell? Because I know how it is, because we do this show. And, you have like a handful. Ward Shell, for example, I wish we could just turn a camera on and just let him talk. And honestly, it'd probably be the best video that's ever happened out of our region in racing. But how was it trying to wrangle in drivers, get them to come out of their shell? And do you have any like moments that really pop out where you're like, this was really good, or maybe we can talk about the bad ones too?
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned Ward, because I think he was the first driver to walk over to me and say, yep, I'll do an interview, no questions asked, whatever I wanted to ask him. And he would have talked all day if I let him. It was awesome. And he is the exception. 99% of drivers do not want to do that, have zero interest. Most of them I guilt tripped into it. So I know quite a few guys over there at State Line, and really just kind of like, hey, do me a favor, come on the radio for 5 seconds. It won't hurt you. And then I get them over there, and it's like, okay, 7 or 8 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I guess we could ask one more question. But you're right. It's hard to get these guys to come over. I walked over to Kyle Bedell's pit one night, I think third or fourth night up there that year, last summer. And, I asked him if he'd come over and do an interview, and he kind of hesitated, and he could tell he didn't really want to do it, but he did. He came over and did the interview with us. Afterwards, he was super happy about it, and he told us, that was really fun. If I could get all the drivers to see that it's actually kind of fun and you get to say nice things about your sponsors and stuff, we'd have interviews every week. Otherwise, I got to send you down through the pit road to help me chase people down and try and guilt them into coming over. And there are some that are very elusive. You mentioned some of the worst experiences. Nobody like straight up just told me no or, go away. But John Boardman ran away from me more than once. So I did guilt him in Victory Lane, though, the last week at State Line, that he has to do an interview with me next year. So I'm going to hold him to that, make sure he comes out for that interview.
And you know what? He's one of those. Bill said it best. It seems like everybody there is like a personality, right? And he is one of them. He is one of those guys, and the nicest people right over there in the pit. And there, you were doing the show like 20 feet away from his pit, and he probably haven't ever seen him run away that fast in our entire lives, dude. He's a lot of these guys afraid of the microphone. It's almost like Ricky Bobby when he didn't know what to do with his hands. It really is that. Like, that might be a character, portrayed in a movie, but it really is sometimes. And it's funny, right? Not in front of a camera, not with a microphone. All these guys have all these stories, and they're phenomenal to talk to and trying to crack through. So then the Pit Road Show migrated up to the booth for one reason or another. And then we started doing just the entire pre-race show, where you are the worst predictions guy in the entire world.
So we ended up in the booth. It's a good point you make. We ended up there because we had a couple weeks that were really wet. And, honestly, I didn't think the track crew was going to get it in, and they somehow found a way to get the track to where it needed to be. And I was, instead of packing up and going home with the Pit Road Show, I thought, hey, let's go up to the booth. We can at least keep some music playing for people. And and, give some updates on the points and stuff like that. And it kind of turned into a thing. It worked really well up there. Actually going into next year, I think we're going to run the show from up there as well, but we're also going to go try and do interviews ahead of time next year. So that way there's a few more interviews in the show. But yeah, you and I ended up sitting there one day talking and, hey, we should do a prediction segment. And we put it together and actually started, I think, me reviewing our super late model rankings, and you were kind of had some opinions on the way we went about getting them. So then it turns into this prediction thing, and you got lucky a lot of times. I mean, there was a lot of times that my driver was 10 spots ahead of yours, and a flat tire or something came up at the last lap, and it was very frustrating to me. I couldn't stand losing. Anyone who knows me knows I'm super competitive. I don't like to lose anything ever. So the fact that you kept beating me was really driving me crazy. I know one Sunday at Bradford, I basically forced you to do picks, even though you didn't want to. You were busy because I was trying to catch up. I was like, I could steal one from him tonight, and then I get next Saturday at State Line, I'll only be one behind. Yeah, it didn't go my way.
It literally was like 3-0 for Josh, and then I had this miraculous comeback or something. It
was the Red Sox
awesome.
against the Yankees. That they blew that 3-game lead. It was like 2003. Yeah,
it was every week.
That was
you
me.
Get the first 3 right, and then I get the back half right with some dramatic. And then when Josh would finally get him over, it's definitely a conspiracy that he was paying these drivers. He would go around. And they all know the deal now. So if you ever see his face on race cars, I'm not picking him.
I'll say this though, Dan. A lot of drivers did say, "Hey, how come you guys didn't pick me?" And drivers are superstitious. Most drivers don't want to be picked. So I thought it was funny we were getting those messages like, "Hey, how come you didn't pick me? I'm going to win tonight." It kind of made it a little more fun knowing that they were paying attention to it.
John Meese had a dry spell. And I picked him, and he won that night. And I was in victory lane with him. He's doing, because they're usually last. And I go over, and he's like, "I had to get that win for you because you picked me." And I was like, man, they really take this serious.
We had some good ones. What I thought were home runs. Like the one night, I thought the track was going to be real slick, and I think the week before you said it was Daryl Bozzard's season, so I took Bozzard, and I'm like, this is a guarantee. This is the closest thing to a guarantee I've ever had. And for whatever reason, he just didn't come up through the pack. He started like 4th or 5th and finished 4th or 5th. And I was just blown away. I forget who you picked, but whoever it was went like 8th to 2nd. I was like, what the hell? But, just the way it broke down.
Yeah. So let's touch on, the play-by-play duties, because I'm always interested on this. There's a couple guys in the sport that do cross over now that I'm thinking about it. Not many. Marty Sakala is one of them, and he's one of my favorites, honestly. I know I say a lot of people are my favorites, but if you ever listen to Marty call a race, you will be more excited for literally, it could be 2 snails racing side by side, and Marty could make it sound like it is the last lap of the World 100. It is awesome. He does some sports. So what do you see as kind of the differences between, you're doing football and all the other, whatever you do everything. You're kind of like me. It feels like I do everything too, but what are some of the differences that maybe people might not think about when you're sitting there trying to call a race?
Well, football happens in 7-second spurts, right? Then there's a rest period of 10 to 15 seconds and 7 seconds again. Pretty much every sport's that way. And racing is not. I called the 50-lap feature at State Line for super late models on July 4th. That was 50 laps of action. I don't think I breathed like between lap 1 and lap 50. And, I get down to victory lane to interview Max, and I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, man, like I just talked nonstop for 30 minutes. There was no pausing, nothing. Like I just went, and it was nice at the end of the year. I was able to, have company, as so to speak, and have somebody else to kind of give you a break. But yeah, I've called football alone. That's a tough thing to do. You're doing play-by-play and you're trying to throw some color in there. That's kind of what I would liken racing to. It's like calling a football game by yourself. It's a lot, and you don't get a chance to catch your breath. You don't get a chance to, cough off camera and get some water. That's not an option. You got to go. And I also find that with racing, you can only say the same thing over and over again so many times. So, side by side, door to door, like you've got to come up with 50 ways to say something, because if you just keep saying they're side by side every single lap, everyone's going to be like, okay, we know that, shut up. So you got to come up with different ways to say it. And with football, I mean, you can get away with saying it the same way. Oh, yep. Is it, is a run to the left side. Yep. Well, that's what it was, so you don't have to change the way you're saying it. But it is very different, but at the same time, if you love sports, you love sports. And for me, it's just a lot of passion to be part of sports. I remember being a little kid, probably 7, 8 years old, sitting in my living room with my parents, and I used to mute the Steelers game on Sundays and announce it to my dad, and he would get, super annoyed and be like, will you please stop talking? But to me, it was cool. I thought I was part of it. And we used to do it with NASCAR too. I actually remember a Bristol race when I was a kid. Terry Labonte was like just lighting everybody up. And I was just like, and no one can believe Labonte's out front. And he's just laughing at me because he's just like, what is this kid talking about? But, if you love it, you love it.
Yeah, it's definitely a passion thing. And as an announcer, we got to do the enduro together. We'll talk about that and the challenges that was amazing. We'll get there. It was the most fun I think I've had all season doing. Literally, I have done almost every job except for stand in the starters stand. And I made that joke to Bill the other day, and he was like, we can make that happen. And I'm like, I'm good on that one.
You should check it off the list though. Really, you should do it.
Yeah, until that's one of those key positions, right? Where that's probably the person that gets yelled at the most, and I would like to be able to hide. So going out through the year, what do you see, between the two tracks that you were at? I don't know if you got any other racing in. I mean, when you're announcing twice a week, you're probably sick of it by the end of it. But, what are some of the key things, this year that you really took home that were like, man, those were like the best moments, whether it be your career for announcing or, just watching? Because we all have those moments where we get stuck watching too.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely was watching several times throughout the year, and I caught myself doing it. One particular occasion was a night up at Bradford, and it was the night that the modifieds were there. And I caught myself, I was announcing, I was saying what needed to be said, but I realized it was like 5 laps into the feature, and I'm like, I'm just watching this race and just talking like I'm talking to a friend. Like, I'm not an announcer right now. I'm just enjoying this event. And that happened at State Line several times too. But, I think for me, the highlights are interesting ones. Like I never thought, and this is going to sound crazy because I am the guy who made fun of 4-bangers my entire life. The racing at Bradford is fun. It is. And that group of cars, the SCDRA, like, it is really good racing. And that shocked me. And I found myself several times throughout the season going, you know what, this is actually really kind of fun. And I never thought I would say that. So that was a big one for me. The other one, I've always been a late model guy. You're a big modified guy. And so, that Thursday night race that we did up at State Line, I had a blast that night. And it was a pretty good track. It was a lot of really, really fast cars. And generally, it was a really good show. A lot of folks didn't make it out for that because of the night that it was on and stuff like that. But that was a heck of a night, man. I had a blast that night. So, I had a great year. I think I got a chance to be a fan while still doing something that made the sport, or I hope made it better for the fans. And, and I got to talk to a lot of drivers that I haven't spent a lot of time talking to. Chuck Parker, for example. I think we've talked like a couple times before this year, and we talked quite a bit this year. But also, just hearing what Dick Barton thinks, at State Line, he's up in the press box a lot, and hearing the things that he's seeing when he's watching a super late model feature event. There's a caution because somebody's, hit the Uke tire down in turn 3 or something. So we got to wait a few laps, right? I set the mic down for a second. He comes in the door and starts talking about what's happening in the race. And he said, hey, watch so-and-so. This is what he's going to do. absolutely what he did, So to hear it from a guy like that who did it for so long and did it so well, those are the kind of memories that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah, and I mean, when you go to State Line, right? It's unlike any other place that I have been, and it's not. It doesn't come down to the racing. Racing's good. We have nights that are really good. We have nights that are really bad. We had a lot of good nights this year that I thought where the racing was pretty good. Um, However, like the history is ingrained in that place like no other. We make the same joke about Bradford, right? Where I say that it's so hard to find historical records and who won where at literally 95% of these racetracks. But you have, the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame is probably what really fuels how documented State Line is, and Erie's to some extent. I haven't looked into it because I haven't done much with Erie. Uh, but when you have an entire booth at the far end, if anybody knows that or sees, you look at it, you can see Josh's bald head on the one far side. The middle part is all these scorers and important people that do all of that, the Jamie McMillan Control Center. And then at the other end, sometimes they have special guests, but 99.9% of the time, you have Jim Scott, Sammy Lamancuso, Dick Barton pops in. You have the guys that have seen racing start in this region and were there for the entire thing. And Sammy is one of them where he remembers literally. You could probably ask him the detail of any race that he's ever been to this entire time, and I forget how old he is, but it's like a point where he's like, how does this guy remember everything that's ever happened ever?
Yeah.
You don't get that anywhere else. There's not a lot of this, the legends of these places that just are there because of the love and passion for it, and to be able to pick the brains of these guys. Imagine trying to get one of those guys on color.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. I thought I had a couple of them talked into it a few times, but Sammy especially, he's someone I'd love to get on, even just for one, heat race, just be fun to talk to him. But yeah, it's cool to have those guys up there, but it's also the guys that are sitting down in front of you. There's retired late model drivers who are sitting in the stands every night there at State Line, and they still come every week, and I just talked to one the other day. You might not even remember, Dan. This is probably before your time, but I got a commitment from Steve Halpenny to come on the Pit Road Show with me next year. And Steve was a late model driver. His son Jake was a modified driver in the area, and now works in NASCAR. Getting people like that involved, it's going to be a lot of fun for me. But that's the kind of stories I eat it up. I was a history major in college. I love that stuff. But you also mentioned Jamie. I want to shout out Jamie. Hope you're feeling better, bud. And hope you're watching, and we'll see you back at the track next year.
Yeah, that dude, speaking on Jamie, he's like the heartbeat of State Line Speedway. It's when we were there for the Enduro and he wasn't there, it felt like this weird thing of him not being there. He's had a whole bunch of health issues this season, and hopefully on the mend from what I hear. So always thinking about him. I always send him a message every so often, checking in on the big guy. Like I said, he's one of, again, it makes State Line so special because we have all these great people there. There's an endless amount of a wealth of knowledge, and just like, the reason why State Line puts on such an efficient and well-oiled show is because we really do have the best people in all the spots. And it shows, car count show, full pits, all that good stuff. So, going off of that, hey, you also mentioned the mini stocks. We got 2 SCDRA touring shows that you get to call this year. Oh, you only get to call one of them because the other one's on a Saturday, so you'll probably take the home field advantage. But starting to grow, right? It's insane. And to touch on it for the folks that haven't seen a Bradford race, okay, and it's a full field of cars going around a track that looks way too tiny for everybody to fit. And it's some of the cleanest. They are throwing slide jobs. It's the most entertaining stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You got guys coming all the way through the field. You got hard chargers. It's like a sprint car race with hard chargers like plus 10, plus 12. It's some of the craziest stuff. you had a guy that only showed up to half the races, and he was so good that he finished fourth in points. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So what do you think though coming up next year? You can make your predictions about, oh, maybe we'll do this, that, and the other thing. What would you like to see, or what are you excited for here in the 2026 season?
Well, as tracks get ready to start releasing schedules and releasing things that they're doing, which seems to get earlier and earlier every year, by the way. I feel like tracks used to release their schedules in like February, March. Now they're coming out in November, which is great for the drivers. You can prepare, but it seems crazy. And props to those track owners for putting things together that fast. But, I'm excited to see some of these big shows that State Line's putting together. World Outlaws, the High Limits, like that stuff's going to be great. But as far as local racing, and you already know the answer to this. We've talked about it a few times, but the Crown Vics, I cannot wait to see the Crown Vics, a little bit more up close. I've seen them on Flow plenty of times, and it's always good racing, kind of like the, what we were just talking about. But, I think those cars are like indestructible. You can run into the wall and just keep on going. So it's going to make it a lot of fun.
You're going to see, hey everybody, Woah Nelly from the future. Time to do some ad reads here, as we have a lot of partners that make everything here happen at Woah Nelly Productions. First and foremost, Carpy's Print Company is your source for the best wraps, merch, designs. If they don't do it, you don't need it. And that says everything, because they even do energy drinks, RC car wraps. I see stuff that they do all the time that I didn't even see pop up, whether it be on their Facebook page or not. Some of the best wraps in the game. If you see it out on the racetrack and it looks amazing, it's probably a Carpy's Print Company product. So make sure you go and mention us today to get your wraps for 2026, or your merch, or anything else that you might need for print purposes. Zenfolio is the backbone of Woah Nelly Productions. Our website runs on Zenfolio, and if you bought a season package or photos from us this year, that's where you got them from. It's a Zenfolio powered website. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do all these cool things. We use them in very interesting and unique ways, and we hope to continue working with them in the future. And of course, Close Racing Supply, your home for all dirt track oval products. If you need it, they probably have it to go fast in 2026. It's time to start getting back out in the garage. Racing season's not that far away. Affliction Race Cars is the official modified of Woah Nelly Productions. It is also time to, maybe think about some upgrades. David Scott has a whole bunch of things going on in his shop there. And the Scotts have been great supporters of what we do here. And I cannot wait to keep seeing what they do out of their shop. They're good partners with Close Racing Supply. And you can get Close Racing Supply parts right there too. On top of that, fire suits, they do that there, and man, they make a lot of people go fast. Probably one of the better shops to go to out of the area. Can't wait to see what their 2026 plans are out there. Bernahalo Hot Sauce Company was part of our sponsorships in 2025. They sponsored the Hot Laps portion of the Woah Nelly modified races. They have some of the best sauce in the game. They going on and on about how I am not a hot sauce person. I am not a fan of the heats, and they bring flavor along with some heat. So check them out today. It's worth a try. Some other lower down here on my list of sponsors, FHM Performance started this year, was our power plant supplier for our go-karts. Victory Fuel, State Line Speedway, and Bradford Speedway, also partners in 2025. If you want to get a part of us in 2026, reach on out. We'll be doing this podcast all winter long. And now back to the program. An awful lot of Crown Vic racing. Not to spoil anything, other than that Bradford will be running them weekly. We'll have one. The Woforce one, no longer a go-kart. Maybe might be a go-kart if no one buys the thing, because it's sitting in my garage. Casey's going to make me work overtime trying to get a go-kart ready and then go run around, chase the Crown Vic. But there are from what I understand, a whole bunch getting built. $3,000 race cars that are about as stock can be, right? Like these things, kick the windows out, put a roll cage in. You got to run, the street tires. You got to run on it. It's gonna bring back a lot of. So to go on why mini stock racing has gone to the way it has been is it's almost they're not late models, but I'm going to use the analogy they're kind of a limited late model, right? They're not pull a car out of the junkyard, put a cage in it, and go race, and you'll be
Yeah.
competitive. Now these guys are spending, you know, building motors, dynos. They're really getting these things going, and that's why the racing is so good. Is because the technology's evolving, and this budget class is gonna bring back the backyard mechanic. Is kind of the goal. A $3,000 race ready car. That's not buy the car and then $3,000 to get it race ready. You can buy a Crown Vic for like $500, $1,000, and get the kit and be ready for $3,000, and you can go race. Raceway 7, Lernerville runs them a couple times. Mercer, Bradford's going to be like, we're going to try to make that the home. We want to make it a really big deal. These are going to they're going to take off. I have a feeling they're going to take off.
And if you're successful, you can go anywhere in the country and run them. They're all over in the South right now.
Yeah. And the racing around here in the Crown Vics is nuts, right? We went to Lernerville for the Stampede, and the Crown Vics were like last or second to last. So, but I wasn't missing them. I was not missing to see how these guys raced because I was been waiting to see them. I saw them at PPMS, and they were cool there. But at Lernerville, they were 4 wide for second place, and this wasn't just one time. They did that for laps, and they're so similar. It comes down to driver. It comes down to maybe a little bit of setup. It's going to be great. It's going to be entertaining, and it's going to have some growing pains with the first year of having a class up here. I'm sure that there's going to be some moaning and groaning, considering everybody's going to be on an equal playing field of how to drive these fucking things. It's going to be like, you're going to probably see the Wolf Force 1 hitting a lot of Uke tires,
Something that'll be really cool, Dan. So I want to put this in the air right now for you, for the Isidores, even for State Line, anybody who's going to consider these, right? Buy 2 track cars, okay? Keep them exactly the same. Do nothing setup wise differently, and take 2 of your late model or your feature series drivers, put them in them, and make them run a King of the Hill against each other. It's truly driver against driver, has nothing to do with the car. That will be fun.
Who do you think? Let's go. State Line regulars. Who would you like to see 1v1 that you'll never see anywhere else than doing this right now? Like John Boardman versus let's see, Johnny B versus pick a mini stock driver or something. I don't know, something fun. John Boardman versus John Meese, the battle of the Johns.
Yeah, I'll say Echevarria against Boardman would be fun. That'd be quite the treat. The way Echevarria runs the high side in the mini stock, you think in a Crown Vic he'd probably drive it right against the wall if he had to. So
yeah, we're just gonna have to print multiple right side wraps for this thing.
It'll
be good.
Another one I think would be fun is to see some of the old rivalries come back. So guys that have moved different classes and stuff. I would love to see Rick Michael and Randy Hall. I would love to see Scott Gerdak and any of the late model guys he used to, race hard against. There's some really cool rivalries you could bring up, and you never know. You could get some of those old guys in the booth to jump in one. I think Dick Barton would jump in one.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless, and I mean, these things aren't going to be right. They're not going to be the world beating, just absolute. Like, they're not going to be blowing the doors off of any class, right? But it's going to be definitely entertaining racing. Sometimes the slower classes are really good. Look at the Rush stock cars this year. The Rush stock car / pure stock racing at every racetrack around here has been some of the best in the area, hands down.
Yeah, I think the Rush stock class surprised me. In the past, I found it to be okay. but there's 2 or 3 cars at every track. It wasn't that exciting. This year, the class has really grown. And yeah, we saw great racing everywhere that they went. At Bradford, it was a drag race every night. I mean, it was who was coming out of turn 4 side by side for the win, and it was different guys every night. It wasn't the same 2 guys. And at State Line, I think they had 5 or 6 different winners, and they had guys win from last. Braden Wilson won from last twice. Like, you can't ask for more than that. That's everything you want in a support class.
Yeah, I think almost everybody in that class, except for maybe like 3 or 4, have won a feature. And it really shows how even these cars are, whether it's just because of how new they are, everybody's going to find something to one up the next guy. It's really cool to see a lot of parity in the area. I mean, and they race so good at any size track. You go to Tri-City, the first night Tri-City ran Rush stock cars, we were down there, and I was like, these things, they really put on a show. And then I went back down there a couple months later, and it was a last lap or last 2-lap pass. Cade and Michael went out there, rode, scooped the bottom. The middle was fast. He's like, I'm going to the bottom, and he made it work. And it's some of the best racing. The cars look amazing, right? They brought back the old style bodies. A lot of people, probably the big bitch about street stocks and pro stocks is they all have late model noses, or they all, they don't look stock anymore. So they're really onto something with this program.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Rush support behind it, every time they came for a touring series race, they talked about this class, and they talked about what the future looks like for this class. So they're throwing their weight behind it too, trying to make sure it takes off.
Yeah. So coming up, can't wait to work with you some more. I'm sure, we're always talking shit on each other and on Facebook or whatever, but we always end these shows one way. I finally found a format that works. We ask 5 questions to end the show, and so you can make people mad in this section. Whatever. We're media people. We're not supposed to be biased, but you can ask. This is your moment here. So, who is your favorite driver?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one, man. Well, when I was a kid, my favorite driver was Chubb Frank, and I will say he's still probably my favorite driver. But I spent a lot of time around my cousin and saw him win a lot of races. So maybe it's a little bit of a homer answer, but Dave Shagla is certainly one of my favorite drivers.
What's your favorite track?
My favorite track I've ever been to, or my favorite track that I visit regularly?
Ever been to, you fell in love with it, you're like, I could go here every day for the rest of my life and be content.
It's Lernerville, man. Lernerville is always beautiful. The racing is always good, and the track is bad fast.
It's one of the top facilities in the nation for a reason. So, I lost my notes on this because it's been so long. It's been since March we did this. So, so what's your favorite moment all time you remember as a fan of in racing?
I think I told you this story this year too. Little Valley Speedway, I was probably 9 years old. Ron Davies starts on the pole, gets dumped on the first lap. He's furious. He's yelling out the window. Everyone can see it. Crowd's all cheering. Restarts last, passes the entire field at Little Valley, which is the flattest track in the world, and wins the race by a half a lap. Incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
So this one is kind of like a follow-up to this, and I still don't know what order to ask or how to ask it, but what is like the one moment that made you like a fan of racing? Like, this is my thing, right? Like, you pinpoint one moment, right? You can go to the races, you could be a fan of racing, you can have your favorite moment, but do you remember growing up, was there just like hey, this is the shit?
Yeah, and I went to the track the whole time I was young. I started going when I was real young and was always there. So I always liked racing. But the first time that I knew that it was something I needed to do and like be part of, I think I was probably about, 14 or 15 years old. It was the start of a new season. It was the first night out. And I just got to the track, and it was a State Line, and I just gotten there and just reached where I was about to sit down. And these couple late models came out for hot laps. and the sound and the smell and everything about it. And it was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the spot right here. And to give that driver credit of who it was Dave Hess.
And this last one is what are 3 things you're thankful for in life?
3 things I'm thankful for. Well, I'm thankful for my family first and foremost. They've supported me through all this crazy sports stuff that I do, and I miss a lot of things because of it. All 3 of my kids are multiple sport athletes, so anyone who's a parent knows you can't get to everything anyway. But then add in the fact that I'm announcing sports and I'm off doing these things, most weekend nights. I do miss some stuff. But they're all about it. Most of them want to help out. Dan, you met my daughter a few times. She likes to hang out and help me in the booth. My son is the cameraman for our football program. So he literally goes to every football game with me. So first of all, my family. Secondly, I would never have gotten this opportunity, and this is kind of a crazy shout out. I haven't talked to this guy in a while, but shout out to Jeff Landers, who was the sports director at St. Bonaventure University, who gave me my first opportunity to get on at any sporting event. It was a club hockey game. I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I was scared, and I almost shut the feed off at one point because I didn't know what to do. But I survived, and my love for doing sports was born. So shout out to him. Definitely something I'm very thankful for. And lastly, Dan, honestly, I'm thankful that we live in a place where this is still a sport that's popular. It's still a sport that's thriving for the most part. And, we see tracks closing all over the country, and I see our tracks with really good car counts. I see owners who are dedicated. I see drivers who are dedicated, and guys like us who just want to make this thing, better, get people out, get people excited about it. And I'm super thankful we live in a part of the country where that's the case.
No doubt. A lot of folks don't know how spoiled we are to have a 3-hour region where we can have about any flavor of race car we could possibly want, right? You go north an hour, you got big blocks. You're right here, we're in late model country, and if you go far enough south, you might find some wings. So, or if you want to go to central New York, they got a lot of 360s and 305s out there too. It's pretty cool, right? Like,
for sure. And if you head west, you're in modified country, right? So
yeah, Ohio is. What's really crazy is Ohio is this weird intersection, right? Of modifieds, Midwest, Ohio, modifieds, but they also got some great late model racing, and sprint cars kind of rule out there in the middle. I went to Attica for the first time in my entire life this last year. Okay. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have to shout out Jim Ballantyne for this because he said, you have never seen anything like Attica. And he was correct. They run 3 classes and super late models. You know how mini stocks and challengers and bang bangers, whatever you call them, like 98% of the time, unless you're at Bradford, they're the last cars out there. Everybody goes, oh, if they run before the super lates or something, they're like, oh, I didn't pay to watch these or whatever, right? They're so hated on for no reason. I love my mini stock guys. And anyways, so the super late models are treated like that at Attica, right? Like the 410s come out. Oh my God, it's packed. There's, it's ash cheek to elbow. 305s come out. They're like, oh yeah, maybe I'll stay around for these. And then the super late models come out, and there's like 3 people in the stands, and like somebody forgot their dog. It's 4 people. Or I'm exaggerating. There's still a crowd, but like I was like one of the only 2 photographers left on the infield because everybody was there for the sprint cars. It was insane. So like don't let them fool you. There's sprint car country out there, kind of most of it. So, one more thing. Thank everybody that makes this happen. If you got to shout out anybody, do what you got to do. You're not a race car driver. I can't say thank your sponsors, but you kind of have sponsors for the Pit Road Show. So good place to plug that. And anything else you want to say?
Yeah, so this last year, Lictus Propane was our title sponsor. They made sure, or one of our title sponsors, they made sure that we were taken care of. But our platinum sponsor, which is like the biggest one, was Nick Kunick of Kunick Automotive. And Nick, as soon as he found out we were putting the Pit Road Show together, he was the first sponsor I had sign up. He jumped at the opportunity, and he refused to come on air and do an interview. He's not an interview kind of guy. But if you've ever, I think you've talked to him, Dan. He's one of the funniest guys at State Line every single week. Has great stories. I'd love to get him on here. Maybe next year we'll force him. But I'm really appreciative of Nick to be the first guy to jump on board. And then when I went to other businesses, it was really easy because it was like, hey, we need some sponsors. This is who we already have. And they're like, oh, well, if they're sponsoring, I'm going to sponsor. So, I was able to pick up like Simple Cuts Pet Grooming. I was able to pick up some other businesses, TR Cool Finds in Panama. And people just started coming on board after that. And it was really fun. And I'm not going to call out every single sponsor, but we appreciate every one of them. And don't worry, we'll be calling you again for next year. So, that'll be coming. But I also want to, say the sponsors at State Line supported us. It was incredible. Dave Warren Auto Group, especially, big help to getting it launched. He actually did a podcast episode with me in the mall during the mall show, which was pretty cool. I got to interview Bill there. I got to interview Dave. It was just kind of a neat little experience. So thanks those guys. But yeah, I mentioned it. Bill, I got to thank Bill, man. Bill, not only did he give me the opportunities, but he literally, I don't think there's a bigger race fan at the track than Bill. He's the biggest fan there. And so, if you get a chance to have a conversation with him, you should, drivers, fans, whatever. But I assure you, and I'll put my stamp of approval on this, Bill Catania is good for racing, and he's good for State Line Speedway.
Yeah, keeping it open is, one thing, and it's definitely a passion project. He's putting in the work, putting in the effort, and I have endless amounts of good things to say about him too. He has done a lot. He brought me into a role to be able to expand my knowledge and to be able to really see things in a different light. Along with picking his brain, he picks my brain because he's not around 100% of the time. So to give him the pulse check of what's going on in the region is also a good thing. We have a really good working relationship, and also, he let us bring the Wonelli mods to State Line, and that was like, that's our homecoming, right? We had the biggest Wonelli car count of all time. Dave Hess gets his second win in the series because he had two heartbreakers. Man, if I know we don't travel like with an announcer or whatever. Josh actually announced, I do believe, every Wonelli race this year. Nope, not McKean, so. But
all but one. Yeah,
because McKean was trying to think. Forget who did McKean. Sorry, I'm just blanking right now, but that was super cool, and that happens because Bill was there to make it happen, and before series didn't really come in to State Line before because Jim and Gene did, hey, we're doing one special for every class, maybe the World of Outlaws, maybe the All-Stars, they brought them in a couple times, that was super cool, but he kind of brought a lot of fresh ideas and new people in, right? He brought you in. He has a lot of familiar faces, like we said, great experienced staff, but a lot of new ideas. Not afraid to try literally anything, I think is the best way to say it.
What was the day you and I were up there kind of pitching him some ideas in the press box, and I was talking about Australian pursuit racing, and he's like, hey, we might try that some night. Hey, he's open to whatever. He'll listen to your ideas, and if it is successful, he's happy to grow it and make it better. And that's the cool part. We had some good success with the super late model shows at State Line, and now it's going to grow, right? Now you're going to bring in the World Outlaws, and you're going to say, hey, I think these guys, Dave Hess and Max Blair, can win that night. Either one of them, right?
Yeah, State Line is home to, I do believe, the first hometown winner to win a show, I think, right? That's Dick Barton was the first one to win a World of Outlaws show. And it'd be a local guy, and Max has done it when he was a local guy. Dave Hess has won it. They talk about the PA posse versus the World of Outlaws, but they come up here and try to go against the New York boys. It's a whole different ball game.
Well, you see it with the regional guys who come in to visit, and obviously this year with the ULMS running the tires that they ran, some of those guys couldn't come in, but like Mason Ziegler is a great example where I think he runs State Line pretty well when he's been. I think he's been there twice, and he did pretty well both times. But that's a tough track to come into and beat the regulars. It's not like you're going to a track that's got 2 guys. You're going to a track that's got 12, 13, 14 late models that can win on a given night, and you're going to have to get up on the wheel if you want to win there.
We I always feel like it in this way, right? State line is one of those places where you are either really, really good at state line, or it's you see that thing on the schedule and you're just like, ugh, right? I don't know if I've ever seen anybody. I mean, you see a couple people start to get better and better through the years, but you don't really see anybody go from being this, everybody has their racetracks where they really struggle and they're just, I hate going there because I'm bad there type of thing.
Yeah.
They have that on their calendar, and you never see a guy that's like a mid-pack and back just make that jump and win that first race usually. I mean, you get a couple guys that get 1 or 2, but you don't got guys that do what like Hess and Max do on a daily basis come up, except for Bam Bam. I think he's got to be like the next state line expert.
I mean, he came in and figured the place out pretty quick. Probably got some great notes from some friends. I'm sure that helped. But he gets up on the wheel and drives, and that's state line is definitely more of a driver's track than some tracks, and you can't just slide around and wait for something to happen. You got to get aggressive. But I'm excited to see if we can, with the Outlaws coming to town and some other things that are going to happen there, what other drivers in the region are going to start making some appearances because they got to get some time on the track, to get back in the swing of state line, so to speak, especially with the changes, more banking and stuff like that from this clay. It could change things a little bit, and you might see, back to those days, early 2000s, where Boom was running up against the wall, ripping his car apart, but kicking everybody's butt.
The last time the World of Outlaws were at state line, he was running the wall and ripped his car apart. If you do remember, we had a massive cushion that night. That was awesome. And then they took the cushion away because Boom flipped over. And it was kind of like Dad got mad because we broke a window or something, and they took away the fun. They're we don't got bat and ball anymore to play baseball in the yard. So it is what it is, right? It was going to be a safety issue if they kept blasting the cushion. I totally understand, but my God, that was awesome. So
Yeah, it was a blast. And I don't think it's going to be maybe that extreme, but there'll still be, good multi-lane racing, and it'll give a guy a chance to go out and hang that car on the high side and see what they can do. There's a lot of guys regionally who love to do that. Mike Knight likes to do that. We saw Ryan Scott do that even this last year when state line really wasn't designed to be kind of run that way. He just went out there and made it work. So there's a lot of local guys who will do it, but there's some other guys that are hanging around the edges, Greg Satterleys of the world and stuff that are running these regional series. If the money's right for a given night, there's no reason we won't see them up north. And, the same thing kind of applies to Bradford. Now that you guys have established that Bradford and the Isidores did a really great job of doing this, that the crate racing is going to be good there. You're going to start seeing other crate drivers show up, ones that you didn't expect. And the Touring Series race was the second to last week up there this year. That was awesome. It was an awesome race. And, Jeremy Wonderling had to fight his way to the front, and he almost didn't get there. So, you see that sort of thing on a track, and it tells you right away, there's going to be good racing here for the next couple of years. This is the kind of thing you want to get involved in. And the bigger name drivers are going to start coming out because they're going to say, hey, I want to go win one on that track, show that I can win there, and it means a lot to these guys. So, I think that's the cool thing about where we're at as far as that goes. And Dan, it's cool to be a part of both those tracks, but I'm excited to see, what else happens in the region too. And, we talked mostly about these two tracks because that's where we were both at together, but there's great stuff happening in some of these other tracks too. And you and I talk about, Genesee, we talk about Freedom, things like that. Like those tracks are great. They're putting on good shows. And, I don't mean to take anything away from them by focusing on the ones that we frequent every week, but that's what we know the most about, right?
I have a feeling that, I'm always all over, right? I feel like, I pop in about everywhere at least once. I have a feeling next year, there's going to be a lot of fun things. We haven't been able to announce it yet. I'm waiting on people to drop their schedules first and some calls back, but some Woah Nelly modified stuff, some Woah Nelly Night in America. I know that we have some insider info that, man, I am chomping at the bits for the state line schedule, because I'm just so excited for all the cool things we get to do. And I think that's the 2026 kind of thing is, for those who saw a lot of cool ideas happen this last year with what we had 3-4 new promoters in the area.
Yeah.
More cool stuff coming. So Josh, it's been great. We yapped for almost an hour here, so we're gonna shut her down here. Josh on the Woah Show. Thanks for coming, dude.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man.